Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hudson has a millage on the April 29th ballot that would just about double the property tax that go to her office. The increase of the current $40 a year to a $250,000 for a $250,000 home would be about $87 a year. The Bureau of Governmental Research published a report about the proposition. BGR's president and CEO Rebecca Mulberry is with us to talk about that. Anyway, we did talk to the sheriff earlier. Oh, well, we'll get to that in a few minutes. By the way, when the sheriff was on, I did read her some of the objections you guys had, and I said, the BGR says, look, we know the sheriff's department needs a lot of money, needs some help, but you don't think and you're against the millage increase, because you say you don't think that the sheriff has laid out how the money's going to be spent.
That's right, Eric. The Bureau of Governmental Research, better known as BGR, came out against the tax proposal in large part because there just wasn't a detailed spending plan. That the most important thing when a public entity goes to the public and asks for a new tax or a tax increase is to be able to tell taxpayers where their money is going to go. And
in the best of circumstances, it is hard to get voters to okay a tax increase because most people don't like it. But I told the sheriff, I said, one of the problem is a lot of people just don't trust what the department has done, the job she has done. I mean, because there's been controversy after controversy, and even though she ran on a platform of transparency, you don't think there's been full transparency on how this money is going to be spent.
Well, think about it. A jail, by definition, is a closed entity, and so the burden on the sheriff's office to tell people what it's like inside and tell people how they would use the money is even higher than in a normal tax proposition. In this case, there isn't information on the website. There hadn't until very recently been public meetings. There hasn't been a detailed plan, yet early voting started last Saturday, April 15th.
Now, she said that she understands, and she had a long conversation with the BGR, but she said she respectfully disagrees, and she gave 4 reasons why. And they kind of outlined the reasons why you're against it.
Yeah, we believe the employee compensation plan is not complete. The sheriff's office says that there's about 400 positions at the jail that they deem essential. They're not even part of the plan. The federal court has ordered the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office and the City of New Orleans to build the Phase 3 addition to the jail for medical and mental health things. That is also not part of this plan. And then any capital expenditures aren't really detailed. There's a general list of things they're interested in, but no detailed list of priorities.
Well, let's hear what the sheriff had to say earlier this morning.
Great.
I respectfully disagree as to their findings, but again, they acknowledge that there are deep problems, and these problems didn't get here overnight. This has been going on for decades, how this jail has been funded, how it's been run, and now it's time to fix all that. That's what I ran on, the platform of fixing it and reforming it, and now it's time to do that. We sat with BGR about 3 hours. We provided them with all the information, all the studies and research that we have done over this last year. We've done a pay plan. We've assessed the buildings and provided the immediate needs of the buildings. We have long-term needs for these buildings as well. The pay plan being the biggest part of it. IT system, extensive information about how we need to fix that. So we've given the information out there. I'm at a loss to understand why they don't understand that, but I have been very clear over this last year.
Well, and let me ask you this, because you ran on a platform of transparency, and the reporters who cover you say that you have not been that transparent. And so they're saying, you know, maybe it's the sheriff's problem, not just the system.
You know, I push back on that as well. If you are Chief Communications Officer sends out each week a list of everything that goes on in that jail. Everything that's reported into our antiquated system, we pull out manually and send that out. You will not find any jail in the country that does that but this one. And we're going to continue to do that, but this antiquated system makes it very difficult to share information. When we have a cloud-based system and when we go to that, we'll be able to share it more.
Now, your thoughts, Rebecca, on that, and I just want to tell you, we have invited the sheriff to come back next week, and we do want to get more in depth on this. It's an important issue, but it is an uphill battle to get this passed. And there are a lot of reasons, as I expressed to the sheriff, why people just don't trust.
The sheriff has been very generous with her time and her staff's time, but there simply wasn't enough detail in their plans. There are 2 years left before their current millage expires, and we at BGR believe that there is time for them to go back and provide additional planning to the public and also work more closely with the city of New Orleans, which by law is required to fund the jail to adequate levels.
And would it have been smarter if they tried to do it in smaller increments rather than doubling that tax, that millage?
I don't know. That's not really my area.
Yeah.
But we at BGR have called for the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office and the City of New Orleans to work more closely together. Last summer, we put out a report urging them to come up with a cooperative endeavor agreement where they could share information about the needs at the jail, and the city could gain more information to feel more comfortable about making sure that it is funded at whatever the appropriate levels are.
And it does seem there has been a disconnect with a number of departments, whether it's the Sheriff's Office, the NOPD, the Sewage and Water Board, all those things.
Yes, we think that there needs to be more clear information about how the money would be used. I mean, certainly the Orleans Parish Jail has been under consent decree or federal oversight pretty much for 50 years. And conditions need to improve.
All right. Well, we'll see if she can have a better argument about why she thinks it should be passed when we bring her on next week. You can go to the polls and decide on this proposal. Plus more, early voting is going on all this week. The polls open for early voting in about 30 minutes. You can cast your ballot today through Saturday. The polls open, the Registrar of Voters Office for early voting at 8:30 in the morning. They close at 6. Or you can also wait for Election Day. That'll be on April 29th. Peyton?